Hello, welcome back to another episode of Wealth in Christ podcast, a show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. On a podcast today, we have Mr. Rodney Harris Jr. Mr. Rodney is a real estate investor and a realtor. In addition, he teaches people about building their credit. And today we're going to discuss Mr. Rodney's journey so far as an entrepreneur and his mission to help as many people become financially lit. So thank you for being here, Mr. Rodney Harris.
No problem, no problem.
So how did you get started in this entrepreneur journey?
I started off in Visalis. It was we sold shakes. It was a network marketing company, and I was awful at it. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really understand sales psychology. I didn't really have a lot of things in place around me too, as far as the people around me spiritually. I just wasn't like set. I didn't have a foundation, so I did awful. And what I do, I did personal training after that, did okay with that. And then I ended up getting into real estate. I got saved when I was 25 years old. And I started looking into real estate, started looking into properties and stuff like that, read 300 something books probably because I didn't have any help. I didn't have anybody around me that would help me. So I was like, I got to go to YouTube, podcasts, do whatever I got to do to get ahead. And ended up getting a property and shoot. Yeah, the rest is history, really. I don't want to get into too much, but yeah.
Wow. That's definitely heavy. We're definitely gonna break it down. So I guess we can start at basically your fate. So how has your fate, like you getting saved at 25, what did that difference, like I guess, make things switch 180 for you into where you are right now?
Hope. Before I got saved, I really didn't have any hope really. Because as we know, our good isn't really good. God's the true good. So I definitely had that moral compass when I switched over. And it's like the switch isn't instant. It's not like I got saved and everything was like rainbows. It was still, we still fight demons every day like everybody else. But it definitely helped me with my hope. My peace was totally different when you have something you can go to for peace, meditation. It definitely makes a huge difference because ultimately people will let you down at some point. But God, he's never going to let us down. So he has definitely, for me, been that good moral compass for me as far as what I do. When I talk to people, whenever I'm out doing stuff, I make sure that I'm just being a good steward for him. So
that's great. So basically my next question, I'm trying to tie it together. You saying when you first started this journey of entrepreneurship, like you didn't have anybody around you, and now you're talking about how you started this journey, you got saved, and you realized you couldn't put your hope into people. Like how do you not fall into that trap, as a Christian, and putting your hope into people and just completely relying on God?
Oh, dang. Shoot. How do I do that? I think it's just putting your hope and trust in him. Just like fully letting go. Not caring what people think. At the end of the day, God really knows us, right? People know us, but nobody really knows us like how God knows us. So we know we can go to him for anything. I think it's very important too. Well, with me, especially talking about God and what I do. And it's something like if you're growing or following and it's a part of you, I feel like they're going to accept it. So, all right, did you freeze it? Oh, okay, good. I feel like if it's something that's a part of what you're doing, like people will accept it. So, and that's a part of me. So I don't feel like I have to bend for anybody with what I'm doing. Everybody's unique, everybody's different, and it's a part of what I do. And if you don't accept it, it's just, all right, go over there, you know.
Right, I definitely respect that. I definitely respect that's something I'm personally trying to like um get used to, like understand I can't always please everybody. Like
Right,
some that's gonna turn some people sour. And I kind of experienced that, especially in the early my journey so far. I've kind of experienced that a couple times, and it's almost a shock. Like, wait, people really don't like Christians, or people
yeah.
like the wrong way. So it's definitely. I'm glad to hear that from you, and like I'm encouraged to keep going and stay focused on the main goal, which is God.
Right.
So I want to also add, because you said you read 366 books.
Yeah, 300 plus probably. So yeah.
What made you read so much books like this? Like that's a lot of books. Like how did
I
you
don't I,
like reading so much
I
and want to consume so much?
yeah, I wasn't really, I don't know. I growing up I wasn't really a big reader, but like once you find something that you like you can't, there's not enough books that you can't read, if that makes sense. Like if you really like cups, like you love cups, so you just reading every book about cups. That's kind of how I was. And I didn't feel like, I wasn't really counting the books, but then I turned around and I saw that, you know, my bookshelf was just kind of like busting out. I was like, dang. And yeah, I did that because I didn't have any help, and I felt like that would insulate me. When I first started with real estate, I felt like, okay, I gotta kind of go above and beyond and know a little bit more, because I don't have anybody I can go to right now if something goes wrong. Like I'm brand new, so everybody didn't have to start like that. Of course, that's just me. I'm pretty analytical, um, so I felt like that's what I had to do. But um, yeah, I didn't even. I don't know. I just kind of stopped counting, and I bought probably every real estate investing book on Amazon that you could find. I probably got it. And I went to the library too, because I couldn't really afford at the time to buy a bunch of books. So I would go to the library and I would read at the library, and I would do stuff at the library. So yeah,
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's motivation. That's definitely
yeah.
motivation. So out of all these books you read, what would you say as a book that made it like yeah, real estate is gave you a lot of confidence about real estate for you to get started?
Shoot. Um, the Richest Man in Babylon's probably one. Uh, the ABCs of Real Estate, and um maybe the commercial is some investing in apartment buildings or something by Michael something. No, the E Myth actually by Michael Gerber. That one definitely helped. So a lot of some of those books, only one book you notice is really about uh
Yeah,
pure real estate. So I don't know, I just believe on looking outside of my industry too. And yeah, it definitely kind of started because one's like half in terms, one's just like financial literacy in general, and that one's a Richest Man in Babylon. That one's like financial literacy, and then the ABCs is like analytical detail, actual deals, and yeah. So
great. So I would ask is what would you say to somebody who who wants to get into real estate and the reason not get into real estate is that they don't have information. How
mm,
would you tell them to get started? Go about getting information to get started.
um, I would find somebody that's on maybe social media if they have social media, and like follow them and like see what they've done. And if they have like a book or a course or something, then get it, because obviously they're at where you want to be. Um, YouTube, uh, podcasts, again, like books like the Rich Dad Poor Dads, the ABCs of Real Estate. Those are two books that are good to start with. And you don't need to read 300 books like I did. I would just, you just got to know enough. So like one or two books, talking to some local agents is a great place to start. So you don't need to, I don't want people to get like over drowned in information. They have to know all this stuff. If you talk to people that are actually doing it, it cuts down your learning curve a ton. I wish I would have talked to more people that were in it rather than reading all those books, but that's just how I went about it. So yeah.
That's true. That's 100% true. So let's
Yeah.
quickly talk about how you got started. Like, what was your first, you know, deal, or how did you get your feet wet into actually buying properties, flipping properties? Like, what was that like for
Uh,
you?
First I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that completely opened my eyes. He's also got like biblical references in that book. I love. Um, yeah, I read that book, and then that started my 300 book plus reading. But in the meantime, I was getting hyper local, which means I was looking at like a specific area, like almost a specific street. So I was just looking at this specific street with fourplexes on it, and I had driven the street like probably 2 years on this street. I'm sure it's because I thought, oh man, I just wanted to see how the neighborhood was going. And I was like, okay, this is a good place to go. So I started sending direct mail to the owners on that street. And eventually I sent out 13 mailers, and I got man, 4 calls back. Yeah, I got a guy who was like, and he was very hard to deal with, and he had 2 4, and I was thinking, oh great, I'm in the one and I'm moving to the other. Next year I had it all planned out in my head. This dude was so mean. Like I was like, man, I was like, God, I don't want to deal with this person. So I did, and I was like, dang, like I think he was my last resort, maybe call him back. And when I was thinking calling him back, somebody else called me from my mailer and was like, hey, uh, I saw your mail, like let's talk about it. Like I'll sell it to you. I'm like, oh, I'm like, thank goodness. I was like, praise God. And again, I'm reading these books at this time. I don't really know any agents. So I'll backtrack real quick. I did have an agent, and he was helping me look for property for maybe like 6 months, but he had limiting beliefs about what I could do. I told him I wanted to get a fourplex. He told me that it wasn't possible and that it was going to be too much debt and all this stuff. So I ended up firing the dude um, because of his limiting beliefs, and I'm out on my own. So that's behind me. Like fast forwarding to the current, the guy called me back from my letters. I went to this dude's house. I know I wasn't being reckless. We talked on the phone like maybe 3 or 4 times. Went to his house. The dude was super nice, and we went over the contracts and stuff. And I negotiated the deal. Did inspections and all that stuff all by myself, and went through it and ended up purchasing the deal maybe 6 weeks later. So yeah, it was a wild ride, but yeah.
And do you still own this property to this day?
No, I actually sold it in June. So now I'm actually looking at fourplex and a few apartment buildings as well. So
Okay, that's good.
yeah.
So in that first experience, you know, would you say mail-in clients or mail-in potential sellers is still a great way to get deals? Or
It depends. So, like the demographics I were looking at, these are all older people, and older people still check the mail. So, um, for the mailing strategy for what I was doing for my demographic, who I was mailing to, 60, 70, 80 years old, I knew they still check mail. So, that's why I got such high too. Yeah, but that depends. It all depends. A lot of things lined up for me, and I just happened to mail him at the right time because he was older. He was like, "All right, I'm done dealing with this." Like, you know, basically saying like, "Take it. Let's just figure something out." But I'm gonna sell it to you. So once I had that, I was like, "Okay." I can so
That's good. So
yeah.
I guess if we were to break it down for the listeners, so as in point, what would you say is the first thing? What would you say is the first thing someone has to do before they start looking at property?
The first thing they have to do,
Yeah.
uh, control control your own finances. Make sure you know where your money's going. Make sure that you have a surplus of cash at the end of the month. Don't start real estate while you're going paycheck to paycheck because you're gonna end up hurt very bad because real estate when stuff goes bad, like it can be very costly and you just want to make sure at the beginning, since you can't pay everybody for everything, that you have some reserves like when you buy the property. So um, controlling your own bank statements very important. Money management, basically, very important. So,
That's great. And how were you able to finance that first deal? Like, how did you go about financing that first deal to get it under contract and hold it for how long you did?
yeah, I did a FHA loan. So yeah, I put down 9 or 10 grand and was able to buy it. The seller covered about 5,000 in closing costs, and yeah, FHA loan. Lived in one unit and rented out the other three, and basically was living for free. Didn't pay the mortgage. I could have not paid my utility bills, but I decided to pay because I wanted to, save money from my cash flow and stuff, and continue to bump up my reserves. So,
Great. And
yeah.
how many units or properties do you own currently?
No, just sold them. I just sold that fourplex. So right now I'm looking at moving into a fourplex, and I'm looking at 6 to 10 units outside of that. So
That's
so I
great.
should fourplex soon, maybe 2 months. So
That's great. And you're still working your 9 to 5 while you're doing this, or this is your full time?
no, I'm still working my 9 to 5. I'm a physical therapist. So yep, that's what I do.
So how important is time management? Being the fact you're a physical therapist, and you're also trying to build your real estate empire. So how important is time management?
Yeah, very important. You got to schedule it in just like you do work. So yeah, right after I get off, I'm either doing a live or doing a training or a webinar or something or a reading. So I'd make sure to schedule what I really want to get done right when I get home, and I kind of just time block it out. So towards the end of the night, I can kind of like wind down and not be, you know, going here, going there, trying to complete everything. So just making it a priority is the main thing. So,
That's great. And how do you go about analyzing deals? You know,
oh,
yeah, how do you go
uh,
about analyzing deals?
yeah, loaded question too. I look at me personally, I like to look at the crime first. I want to see how bad the area is for one, because my family helps me with something. Like I have my whole family come and help just while I'm a smaller investor. Like I like to have my family involved in. Uh, I like to have my family involved in what I'm doing. Um, so the safety is very important. Next one is the rent. I want to see how much rent I can get, and then I want to see how much work needs to be done. Like if it's lighting, um, if the how old the AC is, how old the plumbing is, what kind of plumbing, the electrical, is it up to code? Um, is the roof good? Are there water spots? Is the foundation? How's the how is the grading on the property? Like, how is the water going away from the property? Is it airtight? Is it watertight? Um, so yeah,
Is
yeah,
there
that's what I look at initially.
you would tell people to stay away from? Like any major red flag?
Um, um, Major red flag. Well, shoot, a red flag for me could be somebody's whole business. So red flag for me would be foundation. But on the flip side, you have people that specifically look for apartments and stuff with foundation problems because they don't really have any competition. So for me, it's the foundation and the plumbing. If it has galvanized plumbing, which they stopped making in 1978, 1979, that plumbing corrodes. Um, it back up. That's how you get the water running the basements and stuff because those galvanized pipes start to get clogged up and corroded. Water doesn't flow through, so it ends up backing up because that deposit is so hard that the water is not going through and it's backing up into the house. So that's one thing that those are two red flags for me because I'm not replacing all that plumbing and I'm not in a position to go and do that. So yeah.
That's great. So that leads me to my next question. In regards, based on that, is it how would you say it's important to know, I guess, what's still up to date or what is still good to have in a house? Like for example, like you mentioned the plumbing, like that's hasn't been used since 1979. So how can
Yeah.
someone be up to date in terms of okay, this kind of plumbing or this kind of tiles is out to date, and then that's so they don't make a
Mm,
mistake buying a property and having to there were a lot of costs of rehab.
yeah. When you get your inspection report done, I think it's looking at the ages of stuff. So um, I've actually got a book that like the ages and stuff of the units and when's a good time to replace them. But like if you're looking at a duplex and you get your inspection done, and I think everybody can wrap their head around if an AC's been there like 20 years, okay, probably gonna need to get replaced. You know what I mean? Um, what else? If the roof's 25 years old, probably going to need to get replaced in 5 years. So the ones that I think the stuff that really sticks out, like if you're looking for it, if you see something's like been there longer than 15 years, start to raise some questions. So this will all come from the inspection report and the agent that you use. Sometimes if you have an investor friendly agent, they will look at it and go, okay, you don't have to worry about that. Like, don't worry about that. You'll probably, they'll tell you what to really worry about. So really utilizing your agent and that inspection report and seeing how old stuff is. If everything's in there is 15 years old, I'm gonna have to be doing some replacing. So yeah, that's one big thing to look for if you want to know when you need to replace things. Checking the that's why an inspector runs the water too for the plumbing. They turn on the water and stuff. They hit the walls to make sure the water's flowing through good. So yeah.
That's definitely good. I definitely did not know that. That's definitely
Yeah.
great. Definitely great.
Yeah.
I always want to ask something. You spoke about, the first agent you had limited belief in terms of what you could do or how you could get started in real estate. So how
Right.
important is like what do you look for in an agent? What makes a great agent so far in your experience?
Um, for me now that I got some experience is finding somebody that's not going to let you buy a bad deal so they can get that check. That has investment property or has had investment property that's had it before and knows it. Um, Somebody who's like going to tell you the truth about an area. So like if you know the neighborhood's bad, like just knowing that this neighborhood's bad and they come to you and go, oh yeah, the neighborhood's good. It's like, God, it's like, man. But yeah, one thing I look for is just it has had investment property before, um, knows the area for one that you're going into, Um, third, they kind of have like a plan for you. Like you tell them what you want to do, and they kind of have like a mini business plan, like for you, what you want to do as far as what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that you want to move into and not really worry about a whole lot of stuff, like they need to know that. Like, so if they keep that, if they find that property for you, you can just tell almost when people have good integrity too. Almost, it's like it's not all just like real estate based. It's like human intuition, right? So like if I'm wearing a white shirt and I tell you that it's blue, it's like, okay, this person's not very trustworthy.
Yeah.
So it's, all of it's not just real estate analytical stuff. It's like psychology. Is this person a good person? If they're a good person, they're probably not gonna lead you astray. I wouldn't assume that, but you know what I mean? It's just yeah, it's just finding those key things about them, but making sure they have experience, that they know the area, and yeah, they can be gold. So
That's good. That's good. That's good. So I want to wrap back around to
yeah,
where you spoke about having your finance together. So you
yeah.
teach you about credit. So how important is credit when looking for properties? Trying to get into deals. How important is credit?
Whew. Yeah, it's the first thing to stop me. Um, I wanted to. I was listening to Dave Ramsey, and I wanted to buy everything in cash. So I didn't have 100 grand saved up, so I needed to finance the deal. Um, Having credit is like a cheat code. So it doesn't matter how much money you have bad credit. So if you want to get less loans, if you want to have a really, really low mortgage payment, then credit is 100% important. Um, you need to hold yourself over for a week and you have a credit line, you can utilize that credit line to hold you over and then pay it off once money starts coming back in. And you can get access to a lot of money if you're responsible with it, if you do have good credit. So it is yeah, it's like a superpower, really. And it can increase your cash flow if you own real estate.
It's interesting you said that. So what made you is go from David Ramsey and like say like, yeah, that's not gonna help me reach financial freedom and when I want to. Like what made that change for you? Like what was that like?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like I said before, it was it's just because I couldn't buy a property in cash. I was like, dang, this is not gonna work for me. It's I've scrambled up not even close to half of that. And this took me, man, because I had to wait about a year or two before I had to buy property because I didn't have any credit.
Wow.
And I just knew I wasn't gonna reach financial freedom that way. I needed to use leverage. I needed to finance the deal. And I was like, dang, well, all this money I saved, I only have to use this much of it and I can still own the property. So I was like, okay, this is the way to go. I get to save my money. I get to move into this place. I get to have extra money and I don't have to sink all my money into one property. So I'm like, okay. And that kind of helped me with the shift when I was like, wait, I don't have to use all the money I saved up. So yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So how would you tell someone to go about building their credit for those who may not have credit? How would you recommend someone to go about getting started and building their credit history, things related to credit?
Oh, getting started. So what got me started was I got a credit builder loan, and you just make an on time payment to that for however long you want. I would suggest a year, and then your credit score will go from zero and it to above 700. It should. I don't want to put out a something tagged to me like, oh, Rodney said that if I did this, no, no. So just clearing that up because I do not want people coming for me for that. But getting a credit builder loan is good. If you rent, you can add rent onto your credit history, that on time payment. And yeah, that's a good way to start. When you apply for a credit card, here's the gem, apply for other ones, because within 30 to 60 days, it only technically counts as one hard pull on your credit. So you can get multiple cards. You can get multiple credit cards, which it can help build your credit, because if one closes down, because that credit builder loan is may drop off. It is going to drop off. So you want to make sure you have another credit card that you start almost at the same time, so you can have that credit history. Because once that credit builder loan is gone, you want to have something else as well. So
That's great. That's great. That's great. That's definitely great. I want to quickly talk about your community. I know you have a community where people could join to learn more about finance, credit, real estate. So how can more people know more about that community?
yeah, you can go to Wealth to Freedom. It's just the name Wealth to Freedom. We got a membership called Fast Track to Wealth. It's actually an email list, and I send everything that I'm doing. I sent one out this morning actually about like what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, like specials, discounts. Um, and also I have my other business, Wealth to Freedom, where we talk about everything. We put everything in there about, could be anything, crypto, whatever. So yeah.
Great, that's great. So I have a couple more questions. So why is it like I guess how can I phrase it? Why are you so big? I guess your mission, you mean that your mission is to help people get into buy their own property. Like how important is for people to own an investment property? Like how important is that, at least from your experience?
Yeah, it's very important. So you want to follow what the wealthy do. So the wealthy buy real estate. Um, I believe a lot of people, there's not a lot of wealthy people that rent. A lot of them own. A lot of them own property. There are some wealthy people that rent, but those are the people that are like the 0.1%. Um, it gives you cash flow every month. It increases your net worth. So if you want to like go into a business endeavor or something, some of that includes your net worth. So if you have a larger net worth because you own real estate, that can actually help you get your foot in the door, at least if you want to start up like another business venture or something. And also you can use it as like a line of credit once you get equity. So you get a line of credit from equity, and you can leverage your net worth, credit, get into other real estate deals, to into case where people just was mother and they give them like a certain of return. So it opens up a lot of doors, and that's just with one. So imagine if you had a couple, it opens up a lot of doors for people, just for the average person. So
You're 100%
yeah,
right, and 90% of millionaires own a property or own real estate property in some way or fashion. So it's
right.
definitely important. And you, like you said, you want to found the wealthy. So that leads me my okay. So that leads me my next question. Are you more of a cash flow person when in terms of looking at property, or equity matters more?
Uh, Cash flow for real. I like equity, but I still am more cash flow. I'm probably 60% cash flow, 40% equity, just because I know what I can do with the equity now. Um, yeah, so yeah, 60-40.
That's great. That's great. So I definitely want to
Yeah,
say thank you for definitely coming on, sharing your story, encouraging people in Christ. Telling us about real estate, credit, your journey into this entrepreneur journey, and at effect, being effective, you are a 9 to 5 employee. So it's not impossible for anybody to get into this business. So I want you to leave us with a closing word and where people can find you after this podcast being posted. Where can they find you, and a closing, word of wisdom?
Word of wisdom. Be consistent. There's not really anything that makes me more special than anybody else. I've just been consistent with what I'm doing, and I have a purpose for what I'm doing, and I have a foundation. So y'all can find me at Rodney Investor. So my name, Rodney Investor. So
No problem.
appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you again, Mr. Rodney Harris. And for those who are listening, I hope you guys did take some note. I hope you guys, you use this story to start your goal, start your business, start into getting real estate, learn more about real estate. Information is key, and it's important to apply the information, not just only take it. So I hope you guys do apply to this. In addition, I want you guys to, if you haven't yet, you guys can get a step-by-step study guide, which will show you how you can get started in the stock market today. We can get on my website, wealthandchristbrand.com, and it's wealthandchristbrand.com. And stay tuned for next week's episode.